Okay, welcome back. Just an update, and I'm going to say it now. This is probably going to be my final update on the Nicola Bulley case. Initially, a missing person case in the UK. Um, yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm going to do a summary of the case. I've already done a timeline and analysis of the case. I'm not going back over that. I'm just going to pick out the bits that I've updated since. So we'll do the summary and then I'll pick out the bits that have been updated. We'll go through them relatively quickly and I'll give you my final thoughts after that. Okay, let's go. By the way, I'll put the link to my original timeline and analysis of this case. So if you feel you're missing bits, if you watch this video, um, look in the description. The full analysis and timeline were there if you want to re-review the case as I went through it over an hour and a half. That timeline is. But for now, we're going to do what I now believe it will be the final update on this case. Okay, just to say, Nicola Bulley was missing. She has been found. If you're good with that and that's enough resolution for you, that's fine. You need no go no further with this video. If you're been following the case and you want to know a little bit more details, primarily where this case now might be going, what happens, you've still got questions, I'm going to do my best to answer where this case could go. As I say, I'm a journalist. I've covered missing cases before, many cases. I know how this works, and already I can see this is going the way I expected it to go. Okay, let's go. So Nicola Bulley case, missing person originally. Just very quickly, summary, I'll read it again. Nicola Bulley, 45, a mortgage advisor, was last seen on Friday morning at around 9:20 a.m. This is January 27th this year, while walking your dog alongside the River Wyre in St Michael's on Wyre, Lancashire. She just dropped off her two daughters, aged 6 and 9, at the local school in the village. Miss Bulley's phone was found, apparently still engaged on a work call, on a park bench nearby, along with the harness and lead for our dog Willow, a Springer spaniel. Okay, that's it. That's it in a summary. We're doing quick, bang, in, that's it, and on. I'm not going through the timeline again. You can see it. I already have it. I'm already up to 6,000 words now, 28 pages of this timeline. We already went through this. I have updated it. You don't need to know all this. Had you have seen the original video I broadcast and put out, you know it. It all started on the timeline at 8:26 when Nicola left home with her children. I'm not going through this again. Go back to the original video and timeline. I have no updates on the timeline. It is what it is. There's nothing else in it. Okay? I have, and I'll just go briefly over this at the 9:33 mark, and I'll read it once more because this is the only update I've done to this. Nicola's mobile phone and Willow were found at the bench by a local business owner. We'll just refer to her as Penny. You can see it there, but that's all I'm leaving it at. Of the Wyreside campsite walking, of the Wyreside campsite park, walking her own dog. Nicola's dog Willow is pacing between the river bank and a nearby entrance in an agitated state. The leading dog brace is located close to the bench on the ground. Penny's brother, Roger, there's been disputes as to who he's referred to as, is also walking his dog around then and also witnesses the dog and phone find. 9:35, she ties Willow up and returns home because she has an imminent appointment that morning. The woman finder, on returning home nearby, speaks to her daughter-in-law, Anne-Marie, we'll leave it at that, who immediately knew who the dog belonged to. Just to go into it, she does not permanently work with, she has connections to the school, she's a school governor. Efforts commence to locate Nicola and the nearby at the nearby school, and her partner at home are contacted. Police have been very circumspect about the identity of the woman who first came across the phone at the bench and the exact circumstances. Mind you, media didn't take too long to expose that, particularly social media. Why the dog was phoned up, who phoned who visited the scene at the bench before police were alerted just before 11 a.m. Yes, initially I had questions about that. Frankly, now where we are, I've less questions of that. I think that's a matter for the inquest to delve into. What happened with the police? What were they doing initially? Why did it take so long for the witnesses? I'm not exposing or calling out anybody as to what they did or what they didn't do. It would be nice just to know the full details of that we've never heard. I do believe witnesses will be called at the inquest in June, and we'll hear more about what exactly was going on that morning and why it took so long, that 75 minutes. That's something for another day. Okay, again, Paul Ansell makes 3 attempts to call Nicola, I think 1 on WhatsApp, 2 on directly to the phone. He changes into his gym gear. 10:45, school contacts Paul Ansell to inform him that Willow and Nicola's mobile phone have been found. He then drove down there after ringing the police. They contacted him again. Look, that's how it developed. We believe sometime around 11:25, police arrived at the riverbank, and other officers met Paul at his house when he eventually returned with Willow, and there was a briefing and diver searches then that afternoon. Again, I've gone through this, maps, the bench, it is what it is. Again, no updates there. You've all seen this. I went through all this. I haven't updated anything here. The CCTV cameras, the blind spots. February the 6th, I think I did an update here. I'll just read it because I want to be transparent. The update I did was because there was an awful lot of criticism of Peter Folding and SGI's work. Just to as a preempt to this, my understanding is Peter Folding was initially contacted, I believe, by the family who were interested that he might be able to help. They contacted him. He was open to that possibility. Eventually the family spoke to the police. They ultimately accepted that okay, Peter's team can come in. Peter Folding's team was tasked by the police into which areas they needed him to search. He didn't just go willy-nilly searching anywhere. Everything had to be coordinated. He got instructions from the police. He searched the areas that he was asked to search. Mr. Folding February 6th, Mr. Folding tells Good Morning Britain, we sonar down the river on the tidal area right the way down about 4 miles. We could see nothing down there. That's not what I would call the hotspot, really. So he didn't believe that downriver was the hotspot. Initially, he spent 4 hours downstream, but primarily his team were concentrated upstream, actually quite a distance upstream. The police also did their own sonar searches. It's not like Peter Falding was the only person doing these sonar searches. You know, the police were there, other active search teams were there with their own equipment as well. And he's also explained that and I'm familiar with this for anybody who's followed my other investigative work, I'm very, very familiar with side scanning sonar. It goes in the water, it looks down across the seabed or riverbed. It cannot penetrate on either side land. That's not what it's designed for. That's what you see on the screen. You see the seabed down. It doesn't penetrate under reeds and weeds and what might be under an embankment on either side. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed for water-based search on the seabed. So keep that in mind before criticisms are laid out. That was the mouth of the river. I think that's down by Fleetwood Morecambe, where they extended that search. I think deep down they always believed it would be remarkable if her body ever got that far in that short space of time. And as we now know, that wasn't the case. Okay, we've taken a look at the map of the area. There's no point in going through that again. We've done all that. Okay, now really this is where we're getting into none of the updates since I last did the update of the timeline. Okay, we're at Sunday morning. It's February the 19th. Walkers spot a body in the River Wyre near Rawcliffe Road at approximately 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. Police are contacted at 11:36 a.m. That's when they officially recorded, the dispatchers recorded the official call. Don't start getting all over the place with, oh, why was there 6 minutes? What were they doing in that 6 minutes? You know, for goodness sake. 11:30 is an approximate time as to when they came upon something down by the riverbank in the weeds. It took them a little bit of time just to go closer, investigate, prod around, have a look, and go, oh my God, there's something here. This is horrible. We need to talk to the police. And dispatchers officially in the police logged their call at 11:36 a.m. That location was less than a mile from where Nicola Bulley was last seen. Divers for Lancashire police recover the body that day with a formal identification to be carried out later that day, like, you know, obviously a post-mortem when they retrieved the body. And police said the family were informed that evening. I don't know, but I suspect strongly from what the limited details that the family have released on that evening and the following morning that they pretty much suspected the chances were very high that this was their loved one, Nicola, and were reasonably informed by police that the likelihood was going to be that. I'm not going to spend too long on this image, not easy. I've cropped out some details. This is a set. I'll only mention one name. This is Jason. You can see him at the bottom of left of the picture. there are obviously at this stage his companion, I believe, is at the top by the wall. I don't know who this other gentleman is here in the middle. You can see they're both on mobile phones. This is essentially at 11:30 to 11:36 when the alert is going into police that something has been found. Just on map wise, last sighting bench. Last sighting of Nicola, I think by somebody, I think it was in Rowan Water, is it called, area here, and they were looking across and recognised Nicola and her dog Willow walking in the upper field. Back here is the bench where the phone was GPS located, and left. Her car park, her car was originally parked in the car park of the school, just across from the school. And over here, Rockcliffe Road, and where this bend slightly is, her body was found along. I don't think that indicator I have there is quite right. I believe it was slightly further down here on the straight. So the body had somehow maybe got, I know this is difficult details for some people talking about it this way, but unfortunately this is what happens with deceased, a body in a river. I hadn't gone very far. If you follow the river, this is where a deceased body will snag, take some time, snag again, in the twists and turns. This is obviously beyond that weir flow that you might have seen in TV images. So somehow her body got over that and has flown all the way down, and it's this straight section, which is what you're seeing up here. Now I know you'll have a lot of, how did it get over the weir? How did it get? Why didn't the police look? We'll try and touch on that. I've already touched upon it about side scan sonar. I'm as frustrated as anybody why it took so long. There are investigations into the police. There are Ofcom investigations into the media, how they dealt with this case, particularly two networks. I'm not going to name them. You know who they are. Some of their coverage was good. I think some of the criticism of the Lancashire police has been unfair, some of it well warranted. I think their communication, their methodology has been atrocious. I think a lot of the media coverage of this case has been relatively strong. It's got the word out. And I think, with all due respect to the family, I think they've conflated an awful lot of what was happening in the social media, the TikTokers and clowns who like to, on a daily basis, tell everybody, cover this case and tell everybody, with every person involved remotely with this case, whether they're a friend, family, bloke walking along the river had for breakfast, what hairstyle he had, and that's what fuels them and engineers them daily just to put live YouTube videos out. I don't do that here. This is what I do. February 20th, I'll read the whole thing here. February 20th, Lancashire police confirm that the body found in the River Wyre is Nicola Bulley following a post-mortem, and that the case is now being handled by the coroner. Okay, that's normal. That's what happens. Okay. The family of Nicola Bulley released a statement. It was a very powerful statement, and I'm going to read it in full, or most of it. Our girls will get the support they need from the people who love them most, and it saddens us to think that one day we will have to explain to them that the press and members of the public accuse their dad of wrongdoing. misquoted and vilified friends and family. This is absolutely appalling. They have to be held accountable. This cannot happen to another family. Obviously, Ofcom are looking at that, and I suspect a number of other bodies will be looking at that as well. The family singled out those networks, we know who they are, from making contact with them directly on Sunday night after police confirmed a body had been found, adding they had asked for privacy. That is appalling. Not only that, he fucking stood with Bulley and I'll name them on Sky, that reenactment. He was the guy who phoned, who texted Paul Ansell that evening after his partner's body was found. No hiding. He said it. He said it on live TV. And did the famous, oh, he's just come back to me and said no words. What the fuck did you want him to say? Leave him alone. Leave the family alone. It was atrocious. It was the worst case of intrusion. They again have taken it upon themselves to run stories about us, to sell papers and increase their own profits. It is shameful they have acted in this way. Leave us alone now. I understand that, but I also think there's a conflation there between social media and what happened on social media, the attempted hacking of his account. I think as many people have said, the media are painted as the devil. And sometimes they're the hero as well, keeping a case in high profile with the public. And by God, they did that. Now, in fairness, Paul Ansell also agreed to do an exclusive interview with Channel 5 in the UK. That was a 75-minute interview. When you invite the media, or as some people call them, the devil, into your home, or I don't believe it was actually done in his home, I believe it was actually a friend's lodge where that interview was done. When you invite them in, you get the good and the bad. You know, you want to use the media as a family to get the news and the high profile out, to get people to come forward and give information. But unfortunately, the media is the media, and you get the good and bad with them. And I think the family, to a degree, are conflating some of what happened with what happened on social media, which is totally going to a field and going, oh, this looks a bit boggy and marshy, I think I'll dig it up, and doing TikTok videos about it, knocking on people's window at night, trespassing on their land because you're out to do what you think the police isn't doing. Fair enough, you're frustrated, but that's also not acceptable. Some of the things that went on in social media were not acceptable. Full stop. Did the press and other media channels and so-called professionals not know when to stop? Apparently not. These are our lives and our children's lives. Finally, Nikki, you are no longer a missing person. You have been found. We can let you rest now. We love you. Always have and always will. We'll take it from here. Now, if you're going to ask what happens next, and this is it. This happened today, February 22nd. Where are we? Wednesday, February 22nd. Coroner Dr. James Adley informs Preston Coroner's Court that he has opened a formal inquest into the death of Nicola Bulley. He tells the court that Miss Bulley was identified by dental records. I believe that was to do with restructuring work, restoration work she had done, and that apparently is the initial matchup they had. There are lots of other things that still have to be done following that post-mortem, and those details will be fed to the coroner. So don't start going into weird conspiracy. You haven't done DNA, and maybe it's not her, and maybe it's somebody. Look, if that's your conspiracy, you're in the wrong channel. F off and go somewhere else. You know, she was abducted by aliens and all that. And you go to those channels and indulge yourself. See ya. Her family were informed of the date of the inquest, but had chosen not to attend, according to Coroner Dr. James Adley. Excuse me, still recovering, as I was in the previous timeline. He said they had done so for reasons I can't quite understand. I don't know why he felt the need, with 6 corps of the press at the coroner's opening delivery to the court in Preston, why he felt the need to put on record with the court and to say, well, the family aren't here, for reasons I quite can't understand. That's unprofessional. It's not for him to judge the reasons why the family decided not to attend. Good God, on Sunday they only learned that their loved one has gone for good and is not going to be with them. So many things we've seen in this case are so unprofessional. That, for me, as a coroner, was highly unprofessional to give that qualifier. He simply could have said, I did invite the family that they could be present at this inquest, and they, for obvious reasons, they have declined. They're going through a very difficult period of grief. Leave it at that. Not reasons I can't understand. Dear, oh dear. Dr. Adley said he had contacted surgeon Andrew Edwards to ask him to compare dental records obtained by police from the Great Eccleston Dental Surgery. He said the surgeon had examined the body and found restorative work carried out was identical. I'm satisfied on the balance of probabilities and more that positive identification has been made, the coroner said. He said remaining evidence gathered by police and the post-mortem examination required further evaluation, as you would expect, and a full inquest, June, was likely to be held in June once availability of pathologists had been checked. He said this will allow time to correlate the facts of the case and allow the experts involved to finalise the findings from investigators that still need to be undertaken. The hearing was attended by 6 members of the press and lasted about 5 minutes. Again, that's normal. I'm not going to go through my conclusions again. Look, we did this, and everybody gets hit now on social media, YouTube, if you dare to even go into speculation. I'm not going into speculation. I went through the scenarios of what was feasibly possible as to what we knew. I went through all the evidence as to why certain scenarios stood up, certain other scenarios simply did not. What was my number 1 scenario? I'll read it again. It's in red there for you. Number 1 scenario, I said from day 1. Number 1, Nicola somehow lost her footing and fell down the bank into the river and became incapacitated sometime after 9:20 a.m. or before 9:33 a.m. when the phone was at the bench and the first witnesses came upon her. Could this have happened when Nicola was attempting to refit the brace harness and lead on the dog on the return journey back down the riverbank from the upper and lower field without anything else to prove otherwise? This remains the most plausible possibility despite the lack of a body, unless any further evidence comes to light to dispute this scenario. Nothing came forward to dispute that scenario. That's it. Not having a body or someone who saw her actually fall in the river is not evidence itself that means we can eliminate this possibility. I shouldn't have to keep repeating this stuff. The second scenario I put forward, and this still cannot be ruled out. Nicola entered the water by her own actions, leaving her partner, 2 daughters, dog and a good job. This seems less plausible than the first, than an accident without any supporting evidence on lifestyle, and the choice of riverbank location does not appear to fit with a deliberate act of drowning. Again, there is no evidence of personal motive publicly known to support this scenario. I wrote that 8 or 9 days ago, before we eventually heard in an atrocious manner released by Lancashire police. We eventually, even though it was poorly communicated, we learned some aspects of lifestyle. Whether we don't agree with the way it was done, there was evidence of personal lifestyle and possibly some issues. I'm not going into them. That's a matter that was personal to the family. But that clearly was the evidence that was leading police in either scenario 1 or possibly leaning them to scenario 2 more. The third scenario, which clearly now is not or even a runner now, Nicola abandoned, basically she disappeared to create a new life. That clearly we now know is, forget it, no, that's a non-happener. I'm not even going to touch upon third party involvement. There is no evidence of third party involvement, and this is the fundamental problem. I don't believe it's daily. I think it's weekly. 800 people in the UK go missing. I think it's 150, 180 in Ireland that go missing. I'm not sure on the figures in the Netherlands. The vast majority of those cases, the people are located. Most of those cases, you might see the odd alert on a news feed, you might hear it on the radio, you might read it in a newspaper. So-and-so has gone missing, family are concerned, could members of the public look out for this person? The reality is the vast majority of those people are located and return home safely. There is a tiny, tiny minority who do not, and an even tinier minority where nefarious or a third party is involved that led to their disappearance. Unfortunately, we live in a world where X person is missing. Oh my God, they must have been murdered. It's CSI. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Everybody thinks that every missing person, no, let me qualify that. Everybody doesn't think that. Proper, normal people who understand the figures, as I do, and the reality of people going missing, and that it happens daily no matter which country we live in, understand that thankfully most of those people will be found. safely. Unfortunately, we have a tiny minority of people who love to go on social media and use missing person cases to indulge in a false reality, a fantasy world that every missing person must be the hands of an abductor. Every child that goes missing must be an abductor. They see the world blinkered and in one sense. And half the time, when they start to emotionally invest in a missing person case, and usually it's not in the first days, because it's the missing person cases after a few days that really do get into the high echelons of media on a regular basis. And they're the cases they emotionally invest in. They emotionally invest in them. They form opinions, and they form opinions based on the fact in their own mind that every missing person must have a third party. Must be the husband, must be the partner, must be a friend, must be a finance job, must be insurance, life assurance. That's what it's about. And unfortunately, they live in a world where everything around them is nefarious. Everything is a threat. The government's a threat. My phone is a threat, but I'll use it. They're tracking me. They're watching me. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are people who think that, who choose, not are, but choose to live in fear. They're terrified of everything around them. Everything is suspicious. There's no such thing as coincidence. There's a cause and reason for everything, and everything is nefarious. Everything is being done upon them, and it's projected out, and they project it out when they see missing person cases, and they build up this ridiculous emotional connection to missing person cases, and they identify with it to such a level they become so absorbed with it. But hey, next week there'll be another missing person, and they'll go through the same process. Once it gets to the media, whether it's local in their area or national media, they'll go into the same process of investment, conspiracy, speculation. Didn't like the way the dad looked, didn't like the way the brother or the sister looked. Bet you they're in on it. But everything becomes a mystery murder to them. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Following the discovery of her body on February 19th, just 1 mile from the location she disappeared from, police will still have to ascertain a full cause of death and the circumstances that led to her ending up in the water. That will include any injuries, if any, and how long her body has been in the water. If it is approximated that it was 3 weeks, then serious questions will be asked about the competency of the technical diving search operation and why the body could not have been quickly located within days over just a mile search of water. Again, I said I'd touch on this. I'm not going over the bashing Peter Faulding. I've said some of it is very unjust. His team did spend 4 hours searching this particular area, but as he has stressed, he was searching as tasked by the police to his team, the side scan sonar of the body of water and the river bed. That's all I can see. Can't see into reeds. There's a body stuck in the reeds. That's the police's work, or whoever they task to do that, to search. It wasn't Peter Faulding and SGI's work and task to go prodding around in reeds at the side of the river, up and down. That is down to the Lancashire police, or whoever, whatever team, search team, they tasked with doing that. As this case is now being handled by the coroner and a public inquest, suggests to me that we are unlikely to hear much more details divulged by police or formal media outlets. And that's as I suspected, and we've heard that now formally today, qualified, and I can now reveal that from the court today in present, an inquest will now take place at 10 a.m. on the 26th of June 2023 hours at County Hall, Fishergate, Preston. My final thoughts obviously are with the family and friends of Nicola Bulley, and that they will soon have some resolution in this case. Clearly it could take as long as June now, late June, for that to happen. Final thoughts. I think this is a lesson. You know, there's been so many fingers pointed at the Lancashire police, and rightly in many circumstances. Their messaging and communication was fucking woeful in this case. There were many missteps in this case. Why the area wasn't initially secured. Yeah, TikTokers, other social media channels and thereabouts also have an awful lot of questions to ask about the ghoulish way they dealt with this case. I don't stand by that it was necessarily it might have taken resources from the police, which it shouldn't have, but I never accepted the argument that it was somehow a distraction from the. Well, Jesus, if that's distracting you, then maybe you're not doing your job properly. I've heard an awful lot of people, commentators, experts who have been ex-police, who have said they have long called for a proper coordinated people, not directly employed by the police, but to act as, not, in other words, like we have family liaison officers to work directly with the family and the police, and they're the medium, the junction in between. And that maybe now we need proper appointed, not PR people, but we need skilled media people that can take the message and ask the police, what purpose and what message are you trying to get out to the public here today, and can communicate that succinctly and properly. And there are many police forces through up and down Britain, Lancashire police, I think Surrey, Sussex, we've seen it before. We've seen some appalling situations as well in previous cases, you know, with corruption, badly handled cases. And yeah, it's certainly time that there was a department within each police force that is skilled and knows how to deal with the media, that can deal with journalists privately and publicly when something has to be said or asked of the public, that the message can be properly thought about and communicated. And asking sometimes a police officer who is not a media expert and necessarily a media communicator, and maybe doesn't always do it well, and I think we've seen circumstances of that where mixed messages are given out and it's poor. Of course, the media, the mainstream media themselves, need to look at how they deal with this case, particularly when they go to 24-hour coverage on a case and certainly making demands of a family, and particularly at a time where they've just been informed their loved one is gone, is deceased, and they've been found, and then almost demanding and intruding responses like, how are you feeling, or how's it going? That's ridiculous, particularly after the family released a statement. Look, I don't have any more to say on this case. Maybe I'll do a video at some time in the future, hopefully not too long, in the coming weeks, where I'll maybe explain a little bit better as to how I deal with both missing person cases and how I deal with criminal cases. Because they're very different and I deal with them in different ways. This was never a criminal case. It never rose to that. There was never any evidence of criminality. This was a missing person case, and I deal with a missing person case in a different way than I deal with a criminal case. A criminal case to me is something generally that I've done that I tend to do in review of the overall case start to finish, whereas in a missing person case, we're about, this person's missing, we're trying to get information. It's more live, it's happening, it's unfolding. Look, it's a sad, unfortunate case. A lot of people have to ask questions of themselves how this was dealt with. Will this be a sea change, a change in how it's dealt with and future cases are dealt with? I've heard a lot of people say that. Frankly, I'd like to think it'll be a change in police forces, how they deal with it, how they communicate, how they'll handle social media, how they'll handle a case when it's rolling news 24 hours a day. I'm not going to hold my breath that we'll see those changes, because I kind of have been listening to this crap for 10 years, 20 years. I can go right back to the Soame case. You can go right back then and see the same mistakes being made by both police. Back then there wasn't quite as much social media, but yeah, police need to get up more in step with social media and 24-hour mainstream media coverage. I'll leave you with my last thoughts that I had from the moment I heard about this case in the first few days of February. I immediately thought of Bernadette Connolly, who went missing in Dublin. Very striking circumstances. Personal items, phone, bag found up high on the grass on the beach. Bernadette definitely tracked by a taxi gone there, vanished off the face of the earth. Same speculation. Must be sinister. She was abducted. Check the family, finger pointing. Weeks later, her body was found washed ashore in Wales, across the Irish Sea. And this case struck me in many ways as having similar details, where everything pointed towards an accident or some kind of misadventure, but yet people just wanted it to run and push it to the limit. Must be something nefarious. Oh, damn, it's there. Oh, look. Yeah, we don't learn our lessons well, do we? Okay. I think it's unlikely I'm going to be doing any further updates on this case. It's on an inquest stage. It's at a legal stage. The coroner Audley has already told the police that there are to be no further communications publicly unless the case reaches if it was to reach a criminal stage. I don't think it's going to go to that stage. I think we are dealing with what we always suspected. Okay. Listen, God bless. Take care. I'll see you soon in another video.